This whisper video is going to put you to sleep by demonstrating the extremely high sound quality achieved by the gear. A CAD GXL 2400 homemade preamp, Zoom H2, and 120 volt DC lighting, all running on battery power. The CAD GXL 2400 is extremely cheap and not worth debating over the merits of, but the results over the months have been very impressive. It doesn't have the annoying bass emphasis of Heil microphones. It doesn't have the muddiness of the MXL 990. It does emphasize high frequencies, but these frequencies aren't common enough to be annoying. It mostly has a very clear, neutral sound. It has an extremely simple amplifier circuit, tuned to run on the full 48 volt phantom power, with no voltage converter, transformer, or any of that other stuff. It only has the bare FET to amplify the diaphragm voltage and a buffer transistor for each output line. It may also be decent because it's the only microphone we use. We've mastered the optimum speaking position, gain stages, and limiting for it. Most gadget videos are only made in the first few days of owning it, with the person far away from it, the gain far too low, no limiting, and a really crummy sound card recording it. The microphone signals go into a homemade preamp. It has two 2N2222 transistors. One transistor amplifies the signal. Another one buffers it. A third transistor is the digital pot. It doesn't add any gain, but connects a wiper to a resistor ladder. We tried digital and analog pots in the preamp. The noise from each was the same, but the digital pot had much better high frequencies. The analog pot may have had lower resistance at higher frequencies, while the digital pot is flat. Lower resistance causes lower gain. The digital pot makes formants very clear. The digital pot was rated for 100K, but we only got 75K out of it. It was defective, but it still provides enough gain to get into the noise floor. The hardest part of a homemade preamp is generating 48 volt phantom power and negative 2.5 volt for the digital pot. You need enough current to feed the microphone, making a boost converter the most efficient for 48 volts. The negative 2.5 volts uses a charge pump. The frequency of these switching converters has to be above human hearing and identical. Different frequencies mix together to form a harmonic, which is audible. No matter how hard you try, you can't completely remove voltage ripple at audible sound levels from an audio signal. You can only push it above human hearing. The differential microphone signal is amplified in two preamps and digitized in two analog to digital converters. This is the absolute lowest noise way of doing it. Combining the differential signal in the analog domain would take a very noisy op amp. There are no op-amps in this process until the digitizing chip. Any useful gear needs to keep the signal in 2 lines until at least after the preamp. The Zoom H2 is at unity gain, which is the lowest possible gain on it. It also generates a harmonic when recording at 48 kHz, but not at 96 kHz. All the noise is at extremely low sound levels. The lighting is one of a kind and not available in stores. It starts with a 12-volt battery. A Joule Thief increases the battery voltage to a constant 14 volts, regardless of the battery's charge level. The 14 volts goes into an inverter, which amplifies it 10 times to 140 volts DC. The inverter has been hacked to generate DC with a 62 kHz ripple, but 140 volts is as high as it goes. We would make it go higher if we could. This powers a 100 watt compact fluorescent light at above its rated voltage, making for extreme brightness. But it's so cold out here, the light bulb is not heating up to its optimum temperature, and we're not really getting full brightness out of it. There is no 60 Hz hum in this setup. Every component has its own battery and runs at frequencies above human hearing. This was the only way to cost-effectively isolate the ripple caused by each gadget. Every gadget produces a ripple in its power supply, which when combined with all the other ripples, produces an audible frequency. The only thing missing is heat. Now go to sleep and dream about audio gear, microphones,